Joshua Peterson, Peterson Electric. We're here at a customer's house in Loveland. We're finishing up on our permit on this. We started this job, I think, last winter. Took some time to get the trench in and get all the other trades in. But basically, this is kind of the turnout. So the part one of the video was a trench that we did. I think it was about 125 feet, if I wasn't mistaken. And we ran 125 amps here to this panel. As you can see, we listed and labeled everything. I probably did a little bit more anal than I should have, but kind of had my dedicated circuit with compressor, my power outlets in green, my lighting switch legs in blue, and then my heavier circuits with 30 amps I did in orange. Anyway, so we labeled all of our breakers with our stickers, as well as our wires inside of here are labeled, as well as our outlets right across here are labeled. Probably doesn't need to be done as well as that, but we always like to leave a really clean job when we're finished. I wanted to also show you some of these lights here. We put in these new T5s. They are a 5-inch wide by 4 foot long. Basically, they're smaller than a T8 by almost 3 times less. They run 54 watts a bulb times 2, so it's 108 watts a fixture. But the lumen output is amazing. As you can see in this room, there's 11 fixtures total, and I'm really impressed with them. They are high output, and so you probably want to be careful with the fluorescent, not to have it sit there and strike the switch up and down because you'll blow them out. And when you're running them, just turn them off when you're done, because their burn hours won't last as long as an LED. But pretty impressive for how much light it can put out. Kind of feels like a Walmart in here. Anyways, I want to introduce you to the customer, Ron. Just give him a few things to say. One thing we wanted to talk to Ron about was why we ran so much juice out here, which is more than some homes in Fort Collins and Loveland have.
A reason for running this much power is when you build a building for your first time, you want to make sure that the power capacity is enough for us to grow into. There's an RV outlet on the east wall, and there's a dedicated circuit for my amateur radio amplifier that I've got sitting. I'm waiting to put into the room. It's the dedicated circuit, so to keep the noise away from the other circuits in the building.
And so you're running basically two 30 amp, 2-pole circuits to there, so you've got a 240 volt RV and a 240 volt for the radio.
Correct.
And then why does the radio need so much juice there?
The older amplifiers, we call them they're considered boat anchors. They're not as efficient as the newer ones, so they tend to run about 20 to 25 amps. And so we made sure we had a circuit that was big enough to handle the amplifier and not trip a breaker when we're using it.
Gotcha. So other than that, hopefully everything's been a good job.
Oh, everything's been great. The work was clean, well planned out. Drawings were provided, and the labeling is fantastic. Yeah,
so we hopefully can leave them with a good taste when we leave, because one of the most frustrating things when we leave a building in 10 years, if somebody else buys the property, is nobody knows what's labeled and what goes where. I actually had the other night a customer call me up with a circuit issue, and her smoke detectors were going off. I also had another customer last week that he was having a fire issue going on in his house with the old knob and tube down in Washington Park. Really hard to guide a person whose house isn't labeled. You don't know what goes to what, so it's kind of like popping up your hood on your car and you're trying to figure out what fuse, but none of it's labeled. Makes it a lot quicker to disconnect your power for that one circuit if you're having something get on fire. So again, we labeled everything really well for him. We did put in quite a few outlets in here, but he's got a dedicated compressor line. I really liked how he did his air lines inside of the walls, so you can just plug right in for his air compressor. Also just a circuit per bay is what he almost did, so really he could pull in 3 voltage cars here and just run and charge them out like that. So anyways guys, thanks for joining us. Hope you have a good week.